The domestic reverse charge, or DRC, it was introduced on the 1st of March 2021, and principally it's to shift, it was introduced to shift the burden of accounting for VAT liability on sales of some construction service items from the supplier to the purchaser, in order to ensure that the VAT due is paid. The payment of a VAT due can't be avoided. It only applies where the seller is VAT registered and the purchaser is VAT registered, and the construction service involved is reportable under CIS. It will be things like your construction, alteration, repair, demolition, installation of buildings and structures. So you'll have painting and decorating and things like that. And it only applies to positive rated services. So if I'm supplying construction services and I would be charging VAT at the 0 rate on it, the DRC doesn't apply to it. It would apply to standard rated supplies, it would apply to reduced rated supplies. Importantly, the taxpayer, the supplier has, and the customers have to be UK VAT registered, and the customer has to be CIS registered, so has to have registered to report CIS payments that they make to suppliers. The idea is that with CIS, because a customer that registers for CIS is liable to restrict a proportion of the tax they pay to their suppliers, they have to register with HMRC, and it's only those sort of customers that would be liable to a domestic reverse charge. In addition, if the customer is an end user or an intermediary supplier, then the domestic reverse charge would not apply to them. But it's not as straightforward as that, because the customer has to tell the supplier that they are an end user. Without telling the supplier that, the supplier has to, it's mandatory for the supplier to apply the domestic reverse charge. So what happens, the supplier would raise their invoices, they wouldn't charge as normal, they would raise their invoices as normal, they wouldn't apply VAT to their supply, but they would state on the invoices that domestic reverse charge applies, and that the customer is liable to account for the VAT that they would have accounted for to HMRC when they make their own VAT returns. So on the customer's VAT return, the customer would show the VAT the supplier would have charged them as if they made a self-supply, and declare that in box 1 of their VAT return as output tax, and also recover the same VAT amount in box 4 of the VAT return as a input tax. If the customer is partly exempt, the customer cannot recover all of the VAT, they can only recover a proportion of that VAT, the VAT input tax on that domestic reverse charge cost. So long as those conditions I mentioned earlier on, your customer is registered for CIS, your customer is VAT registered in the UK, your customer is not an end user, your supply is not 0 rated, you have to treat that supplier as subject to DRC, provided it's construction services and it's reportable under CIS.